Assalamualaikum students, today we will be trying to solve the paper of June 2023, paper 2-1. It's the paper 2, so calculators are allowed. We will also be learning how to use the calculator effectively in paper 2 questions. So let's have a look at the first part of the first question. A cuboid has dimensions x, 5 minus x and 15. Show that the volume of the cuboid, which is y, is this. So if I were to find the volume of cuboid, which is length into width into height. So the volume is represented by the variable v. The length is x. The width, I can say that the length is 15. The width is 5 minus x. And the height is x. So my y will be, first let's multiply the bracket with x, 5x minus x squared. Then the entire answer multiplies with 15, which is 75x minus 15x squared. So this is how we represent the volume of the entire cuboid. 1b, the question says that complete the table of values for y equals to 75 minus 15x squared. It has already given us some values and it expects us to complete the table, keeping x as 2.5, and let's see the value of y that we get. We'll use the calculator and we'll say that if y is 75 and in place of x, we'll write 2.5 minus 15 in place of x, we write 2.5 and square it. So the value of y that we get is 93.75. So this is how we complete this table. Part C says that draw the graph of y equals to 75x minus 15x squared. The grid is already provided. The first thing that we will do before drawing a graph is plot all these points. And once we are done with plotting all these points, we'll join them with a smooth curve. And that is how we will plot this entire graph. So try to join the entire thing with a single curve and do not break the curve in between with straight lines. So once we are done with the graph, let's just copy this graph. So this is the graph. Okay, moving on. These were the first three parts. Then the next part says that the volume of pyramid is 1/3 into base area into height. And now it expects us to show that the volume of the pyramid V can be written in this way. The volume is 1/3 in place of base area. We can write it's a square. So 9 into 9, that is the base area, and height is x. So the volume is y, and that is equals to 27x. That is how we can find the volume of the pyramid. Remember here, x is a variable, and we need to think of it like a variable. Now, this next part says that by drawing a suitable straight line on the grid on page 2, find the height of the pyramid when the pyramid and the cuboid have the same volume. Now, in order to draw the graph or in order to draw this line, we need 2 points. How do we get these 2 points? We plug in the x values. For example, if I plug in x as 1, my y will be 27 into 1, which is 27. So 1 point I have is 1 comma 27. And similarly, if I plug in x as 2, my y is 27 times 2, which is 54. So the other point is 2 comma 54. Once I have these 2 points, I'll join them with a straight line, and I'll just continue that straight line on. And this is my line of y is equals to 27x. The straight line is representing y is equals to 27x. And now we need to figure out when do these intersect. So this is the point where they intersect. Okay. The point where both the curve and the line are intersecting is 3.2 comma 88. So the question is asking us the height of the pyramid. Remember, the height of the pyramid is represented by the variable x. So the value of x is 3.2, and the volume of both the pyramid and the cuboid is the same.
Okay, so moving on to question number 2, it says that Philomena starts work at 10:45 a.m. on Monday. She finishes work at 2 hours 50 minutes later. Find the time she finishes work on Monday. So all we'll do is simply add 10:45 will be added to 2:50, the minutes added to the minutes. And once we add this, we'll initially get 12 and 95. Once it is more than 60, we add an R, 1335. And this can be written as 1 because it's not given in military time. You have to 1:35 p.m. So that is the time she finishes work on Monday. Moving on to part B. Xavier works for 5 days each week. He works for 4.5 hours on each of the 5 days. Each week he earns $261. So if I would have what the hourly rate, his total pay would be his hourly rate multiplied by the number of hours that he works for. So I know the total pay is 261 for the entire week. Now the hourly rate is something that I don't know. I'm calling it X. And how do I find the number of hours? 4.5 hours he works for on each day for 5 days. So this is the total number of hours. So now using the calculator, we can say that 261 has to be divided by 4.5 into 5, which would give us the value 11.6 $11.60 per hour is his rate. Now moving on to the next one. The next part says that on one day the length of time Xavier works decreases by 20%. So if something decreases by 20%, now the new time I can say is 80% of the original time. And the question is asking for the entire day. I do not know the new time. I'm calling it T. 80% is 80 upon 100 of, and the original time. Remember, the question is asking for the entire day. So in a day, he works for 4.5 into 5. So what is the time? You can directly use the calculator. 4.5 times 5, and then multiply this by 0.8. You get 18 hours. He's asking about a day, not the entire week. So in one day he works for 4.5 hours. We just multiply that by 80%. And we'll say, okay, 4.5 should then be multiplied by 0.8, which is 3.6. So this is 3.6 hours. Now remember, 3 hours are complete, but what about 0.6 hours? Now 0.6 has to be multiplied by 60 to convert that into minutes. So what do we get? 3 hours and 36 minutes, because that is how the question wants us to give our answer. Moving on to part C. In 2021, Miguel's income was 32,000. If we need to find the percentage increase, how do we do that? We find the increase and we divide it by the original value and times 100. So what is the increase in this one? It is 32,000 minus, sorry, the other way now, 33,408 minus 32,000, sorry. Divided by original value was 32,000 because that was his original income in 200. So using the calculator, 33,408 minus 32. This is the increase. Answer divided by 32,000 into 100. And the value is 4.4%. Moving on to part D. Miguel invests X dollars. That is the principal amount that he invested. And the account paid simple interest at this. At the end of the year, he has 890.96 in the account. Calculate the value of X. Remember, now this is the total amount that he has. The total amount consists of, whenever you need to figure out the total amount, that consists of the principal plus the interest. When you use I is equals to PRT upon 100, that gives you just the amount or the interest that was accumulated. So the principal is X, rate is 1.2, time is 3, and divided by 100. This will just give me the interest or the expression for interest. And how do we find it? 1.2 into 3, and whatever the value is, divide that by 100. So in decimal, this is called 0.036x. So the total amount is 890.96, and that consists of the principal plus 0.036 interest. X. Now X is just 1x. That this amount will be added to 1. which is 1.036, 1.036x, and x 890.96 will divide by 1.036 and we get the value of x. So in using the calculator to do that, 890.96 divided by the answer. So the value of x is 860. Just to understand that, calculate EPQ. This is small angle. This is the small angle that we need to calculate, ECQ. The question has told us that ABE is 110. ABE, which is already marked on the figure, is a straight line. These two values are the same. So what can we do? First thing we'll say, let's find first angle. If you want to do it stepwise, you can do it that way. First find EBC, which will be 180 minus 110, and the reason is that they are adjacent angles on a line. So EBC gives us the value of 70 degrees. Once I have that, I'll say that ECB is also 70 degrees. Why? Because they are, we can directly go for BEC. BEC is 180 minus 2 times 70. So BEC is 40 degrees. Why? We have used the properties of isosceles. And now I'll say that ECQ is also 40, and the reason is alternate angles. So this is how we can do this entire question. Moving on to the next part, which is related to angle properties of circle. Okay, so the question has provided us with some angles and some values and some expression. Now we need to figure out the remaining angles using the values in the expressions. Okay, we need to find B. Find an expression for B in terms of A. Give your answer in X. So let's see what can we do B in terms of A. So we need to form an equation which will relate B and A. Let's see what can we do with this. This is the figure that we have, and this is a tangent, this is a radius. If this angle is A, what can I say about X, O, Z? I'll say that X, O, Z is 90 minus A. So let's for each angle, first I'm saying X, O, Z is 90 minus A. Why? Because this is a right angle triangle. XOZ is a right angle triangle. This angle is already 90. If one angle is 90, the sum of the other two is also 90. If this one is A, this one will be 90 minus A. Now, what about the angle that is adjacent to this? XOU. XOU will be 180 minus XOZ. I already have the expression for XOZ, 180 minus 90 minus A. And XOZ will become equal to 90 plus A. Now I already have XOU, which is 90 plus A. Now this XOU is an isosceles triangle. Why? Because OU is also at the radius and OX is also the radius. So let me call this, and I need to find this angle X UO. If this angle is XUO, this angle will be the same. So I'll say that 2 times XUO plus 90 plus A should become equal to 180. So this way I'll get XUO as 180 minus 90. This will be 90 minus A upon 2. Once I have XUO, I'll add 35 to get OUV. My OUV will be 35 plus 90 minus A upon 2. And this entire angle OUV, this complete angle, is the opposite angle of the cyclic chord UVWY. So their sum should be equal to 180. So 35 plus 90, I can separate them as well. 90 upon 2 minus A upon 2 plus B should be equal to 180. So 35 plus 45 is 80. So B is equals to 100 plus A upon 2. So this is the value or the expression for B in terms of A. Question number 4. We need to find the commutative frequency curve, and the question expects us to find the median. Median is the middle value. In cumulative frequency curve, we have 100 readings in this one, so the median will be the 50th reading as per the graph. And this is giving me somewhere around 29. Remember, all these values are eventually read on the x-axis. So this is giving me somewhere around 22 for 29, somewhere around 29. I am saying that the median is 29. Now the next part says that I need to find the interquartile range. Okay, first, let's find the upper quartile, which is the 75th VAP percentile. This is an easy one with just 75, 72, 75th value. So the upper quartile is 42. And the lower quartile is the 25th percentile. We'll read 25th percentile or the 25th reading from the graph. The 124, that is 24. Interquartile range is upper quartile minus lower quartile. So interquartile range is 80. RD says that the price of liter of petrol liter of fuel at the service station was $1.75. Use diagram to find the fraction of customers who spent more than $91 on the fuel. This one we do not have the price, but we know that how much liters of fuel, how many customers bought. So how can we find the liters that were more than 91? So $91 divided by 1.75 will give me the quantity of fuel that was 91 divided by 75. That will give me 52 liters of fuel. So how many customers bought 52 liters of fuel? If I were to read that from the graph, this is how I'll read it. 52 liters was bought by 88 So 88 people bought 52 liters or less. So the question is asking how many people spent more than $91. That means how many people bought more than 52 liters. So we'll just subtract this is the top few people, which is 10 and then 12. So 12 people, 12 out of 100, and the fraction will simplify to E over 25. Moving on. Now, part C expects us to convert the cumulative data into group data. This provided us with few values that the group of 10 to 20 people who spent between 10 to 20 liters of fuel. There were 14 such people, and then 38 people who spent between 20 to 30, then between 30 to 40, we had 20 people who spent fuel between 30 to 40 liters. What about 40 to 50? So you already know that 40 is corresponding to a certain number here. And that number, we can add all these to get the cumulative frequency, 58 and 72. So we already know 40 is corresponding to 72. All we need to look at is 50 is corresponding to what particular value. 82, 4, and 6. 86 minus 72, we get the frequency of 40 to 50 liters of fuel spent. There were 14 such people. And then we need to go for 60, 50 to 60. So let's just read what do we have on 60 here. There are 92. 92 minus 86. There were 6 people who spent between 50 to 60. And between 60 to 70. Let's read on 70. We have 98. 98 and 60 was on 92. Again, 6 people in this group. And eventually we are left with the final 2 in the final group. So that is how we convert the cumulative data into the group data. You'll have the page in front of you, be able to read it better, and then read with your readings accordingly. So now the question says that number 5, universal set involves a number of all integers from 1 to 12. P is X is a multiple of 3, and Q says X is an odd number, and R says X is a factor of 24. So in order to fill the Venn diagram, we start from the innermost part. So we, out of all these integers, we will say that which is the multiple of 3, odd number, and a factor of 24. 3 itself is a multiple of 3, it is a factor of 24, and it is an odd number. So we'll fill that in the middle. Now what about P intersection Q, which is a multiple of 3 and is an odd number? 3 is the one, but it is already included. We do not need to write it again. Then 9, we'll include 9 over here as I have done it. And then which is P intersection R, which means multiple of 3 and factor of 24, which is 6 and 12. And then the remaining one, all the odd numbers to be filled in Q, all the factors of 12 to be filled in R. And because 10 is one of the numbers which doesn't categorize in either one of them, so 10 will be filled outside. Nothing will be left in P only, as 3, 6, 9, 12. All multiples of P have been included in these intersections. So moving on to the next part. Okay, so now is that we need to find number of elements that are in R naught. Remember, this is not the counting of elements, these are actual numbers. So how many elements are outside R? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So number of elements that are in R naught are 5. Now the next part says that list the elements of P union Q. That means they're either a part of P or a part of Q, but they must be in, so P union Q P union R, sorry, my bad, P union R intersection Q. That means they can either be in P or R, but they must be in Q. So what are those? They must be in Q. They can either be in P or R 1, 3, and 9. So we need to list them 1, 3, and 9. This is how we list the elements. And now the question wants us to describe in words the type of numbers represented by P intersection Q intersection P intersection R intersection Q naught, which is a part of P, a part of R, and not a part of Q. That means it must be a multiple of 3, must be a factor of 24, and it is not an odd number. So we find these two numbers 12 and 6. How can we describe it? We can say that they are P intersection R intersection Q naught is X is a multiple of 6. We can use this to describe this in words. Now the next part is about probability. A number M is chosen at random from the elements of R. Find the probability that M is a multiple of 3. Now, how many favorable outcomes do we have which are a multiple of 3? How many numbers are there in R? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, how many are multiples of 3? 3, 6, and 12. So 3 out of 7 favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes, which is 3 out of 7. Moving on to part B. You need a very strong knowledge to attend discussion of numbers. It must contain both the numbers. It must have M and it must has N. So it has 2 8 times 2 to the power 8. N only had 2 3 times. That means 2 to the power 2x must be equal to 2 to the power 8, which means 2x will be equal to 8 and x will be equal to 4. Similarly, it has 6 times 3 and M only had 4 times 3. On the other hand, 3 was x minus y times, so that means it was due to N, which is, if you're unable to understand it, you must have a very good knowledge of, must not have a good knowledge of numbers. So that is a topic that you must revise if you're unable to understand this question entirely. So the value of y is negative 2. Moving on to the next part. Now the question says find the largest square number that is a factor of M. What square numbers can we get from M? M is 2 to the power 8 into 3 to the power 4 times 5 times 7. So we need to see what is the maximum pair that we can get from M. So we can get 2 to 8 times, so 4 pairs of 2 and 2 pairs of 3. So what is this number? You can use your calculator to get it. 2 to the power 4, which is 16, times 3 square, which is 9. So the largest square number that you can get is, which is a factor of, do I have any other largest square number that is a factor of M? So 2 to the power, this is the square root of the largest square number. We need to find, oh no, we need to find the largest square number, sorry. So that will be just 2 to the power 8 into 3 to the power 4, which is simply 20736. Moving on, HCF, highest common factors. We have both the numbers written as their prime factors. We just need to find their common factors. So m is already this. And n will be written as 2 square times 3 to the power 6 times 5 squared. So let's find their highest common factors. What factors are common in both? 2 times 2, 4 times 3, and just 5 one time. So this is the HCF, or the highest common factor of both the numbers. Moving on to question number 6. Says simplify this. We need to add or subtract like terms. 3u minus 5u minus 6w plus 9w. So there is minus 2u plus 3w. If it doesn't look nice, you can write it as 3u minus 2, 3w minus 2u. Still means the same thing. Now part B says that Emilio buys M pencils at 40 cents each and 12 pens at 85 cents each. He pays $20 bills and receives $2.20 change. Form an equation M and solve it to find the number of pencils that you buy. So either we convert, so the total cost is 20 minus 2.2, which is $17.80. So if you want to convert it into cents, that is 1780 cents. So I'll say 40m plus 12 into 85 must be equal to 1780. So 40m is equals to 1780 minus 12 into 85. So 40m is 1780 minus 12 into 85, 760. And when you divide it by 40, with 19. So 19 is the number of pencils that he bought. Part C says y is directly proportional to the cube of x minus 2. You can do it two ways. Go through both the ways. First is y is proportional to the cube of x minus 2 cube. So you say that once you remove the proportional sign, you apply k. The question tells us that when y is 12, x is 4, two cube is 8, and k is 12 upon 8, which is 2, 3 upon 2, 1.5. So now y is 1.5 times x minus 2 cubed. So y is 1.5 times 5 minus 2 cubed. You can use the calculator to get this. 1.5 into 3 cubed, which is 81 upon 2, or 40.5. Now the entire question could also have been done using ratios. Y1 upon x 1 minus 2 cubed is equals to y2 upon x 2 minus 2. We know that y1 is 12 and x1 is 4 minus 2 cube is equals to y2 is what I need to find, and x2 is 5 minus 2 is being divided over it. We go on the other side, we multiply, and y we get as 40.5. So this is another way to do the same question, two methods, whichever one you prefer, you can use that. Now this one says, right, this is a fraction in simplest form. A common error that students do here is they call this cross multiplication. It is not cross multiplication. Yes, we do take the LCM, which is in fact in this case when both the denominators multiply. So 3 will multiply by 2x plus 1. Be very careful with this minus 4 will multiply by x minus 1. So use appropriate brackets. X minus 1 into 2x plus 1, and this will be 6x plus 3 minus 4x plus 4. So you do not need to expand the bracket. If you have done it, there is nothing wrong about it, but make sure you do not end up making an error. So 2x plus 7 Question 7 is regarding construction. I'm not going over there right now. Let's go to question number 7, part B. The diagram shows a quadrilateral PQRS. We need to calculate PS. This is the length PS. We'll simply use sine rule, and I've always told you write the unknown side first. PS upon sine 74 is equals to 15 upon sine 67. So PS is equals to 15 sine 74 upon sine 67. Just use the calculator once to get this entire answer. Just 15 sine 74 upon sine 67. The value is 15.7. I believe. So moving on. PSR, PSR, this entire angle is 96. And the area of triangle QRS is 63 centimeters. So show that SR, so you can find the angle very easily. Let's find the angle PS. We know PSR can be found by taking 180 and subtracting 67 and 74 because it is a triangle. So angle PSR can be found which is 39. So the remaining angle, which is RSQ, is 96 minus 39. It's 57. Now I already know this small angle S is 57. Angle S is, we have just figured it out, which is 57. Now the area is already given 63. Area is half AB sine C, in which we take any two sides and the angle between those two sides. The area is 63. Half, let's take one of the sides 15. The other one is SR and sine 57. So the value of SR will be found 63 multiply by 2, and the entire answer will be divided by
15 sine 57, which is 10.0 centimeter, correct to the nearest one decimal place. Now the question asks us QR. Now QR can be found through any particular angle. We have the angle S. We'll apply the cosine rule. We need to find side S. So S, the triangle that we are concerned with is SQR. S square is equals to Q square plus R square minus 2QR cos S. So QR squared is, now one of the sides is 15 square plus 10 squared minus 2 into 15 into 10 cos of the angle is 57. You under root the entire thing in your calculator and you say, okay, it is 15 square plus 10 square minus 2, 15, 10 cos of 57 is 12.7 centimeters. That is how you can find QR. Carrying on with this, question number 8. Okay. It is a distance time graph. Maya leaves the office for a factory visit. The distance time graph shows journey from office to the factory. Okay. Maya stays at the factory for 1.5 hours. She then returns at an average speed of 35 km/h. You already know that the distance that she has traveled is 4142. And so we need to find the time that it takes for her to return. So time is equals to speed upon distance. So the time for return is 35/42, which is 5/6 hours or 50 minutes. Multiplied by 60, so you get it as 50 minutes. That is the time it takes for her to return. Okay. So she stays at there for 1.5 hours. So 1 complete hour, then 5 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. That is how long she stays there for. And then she returns in 50 minutes. So 8 blocks is what I am focusing on. 5, 6, 7, 8, 8.3 somewhere here. So this is how her return journey should look like. This is the complete distance time graph. Use your graph to find the time Maya arrives back at the office. So again, she reached there at 11. She stayed there for 1 hour and 50 minutes. Oh, sorry, 1 hour 30 minutes, and then 50 minutes after that. 2 hours and 20 minutes. So 13:20 is her time for return. Maybe because yes, I just took this wrong. Time is distance upon speed. Distance was 42 and time was 35. So this will come 42 out of 35 is 6/5 or 1.2 hours. And which is 1 hour and 12 minutes. So 1.2. This is how the graph will look like. And the time for return must be then 2 hours 30 and 42 minutes. So that will be 13 and 42. Moving on, part B. Now the question says that diagram shows the distance time graph for the journey of a cyclist. The cyclist travels d meters from home to a lake and then returns home. Okay. At 8:36, the cyclist is d minus 7,200. That means this complete distance was d. So this is d minus 7,200. That means this distance between these 2 points is 7,200. The average speed of the cyclist between 8 and 8:36 is 4/5 of the average speed of the cyclist between 9:10 and 9:55. It has already given us the relationship of speed, which is technically the gradient. So if I were to find the gradient of the first part, how will I do that? Y2 minus y1, which is d minus 7,200 minus 0 upon x2 minus x1. So I'll just take it as 8 point, this is just 36 minutes. I can take the time in minutes as well, but make sure it's the same on both sides. This is speed will be in meters per minute. This speed is 4/5 of this average speed. Now, what is the average speed over here? Y2 minus y1, which is d minus 0, d minus 0 upon, I can take minutes over here, 45 minutes, which is d minus 7,200 is equals to 45 into d minus 7,200 is equals to, just multiply that, make it simpler. 436 is 4d upon 5 into 45, which is 225. Now let's just cross multiply. 225d minus 7,200 is equals to 4d into 36. 225d minus 225 times 7200, which is 162, followed by 4 zeros, 162, 1, 2, 3, 4 is equals to 4 into 36 is 144, 144. So 225 minus 144, 225 minus 144 is 81. So 81d is equals to 162, 1, 2, 3, 4. So d is 20,000. Simply use the relationship of gradient. Gradient represents gradient of a speed time graph, sorry, gradient of a distance time graph represents speed, and we did not convert the unit because we were just relating to speeds rather than finding particular value for speed. Moving on to question number 9. Buhari family and Garsha family are going on holiday. In Buhari family, there are 2 adults and 3 children. In the Garsha family, there are 4 adults and 3 children. I'll just show you the answer script as well, how the question wants you to answer this one so that you have an idea. The form wants you to form a bracket of this form in which you represents adults and children. So we'll just form a matrix then, 2 by 2 matrix. So the adults of the Buhari family are 2, the
Children of the Bukhari family are 3, 4, and 1. Simple as that. We form this matrix that the question wanted us to. Moving on to part B. Cost. That on another page. Now the cost of flight for this is this, and it's provided us some data, and it wants us to find P, which is equal to Mn, because we're going to find the value of. We already have the matrix M, which is this. We'll just have to multiply it by the matrix N, which the question is already provided. X and Y, and the answer is also provided, which is 525 over 575. So what can we do here? We just multiply this matrix. How do we multiply it? We will say that we get first row multiplied by the first column, 2x plus 3y, and the answer is added, 4x plus y, and the value is equal to this. Now we can say that 2x, we get two equations, the first element being equal to the first one. We will say 2x plus 3y equals to 525, and 4x plus y is equals to 575. We will solve them simultaneously. We'll take the second one, 575, and make y as the subject. You can also use elimination. Now plug this in the first one, 2x plus 3 in place of y, we write 575 minus 4x. The entire thing is equals to 525. So 2x plus, so 3 into 575 is 1725. 1725 minus 12x is equals to 525. So minus 10x is equals to 525 minus the answer, which is minus 1200. So x is equals to 120, and then y could be found 575 minus 4 times 120. So the value of y is 575 minus 4 times 120, which is 95. So these are the values of x and y. We've used the substitution method. I hope this is clear. We've also used elimination. Explain what each element in P represents. It represents the total cost that each family had to pay. Because 525 is the total cost. $525 is the total cost that, what is the name of the family again? Bukhari family had to pay. And similarly, 575 is the total cost that the Garcia family had to pay. Okay. Moving on to question number 10. Okay, a box is opened and each sweet is counted. Explain why the total number of bags cannot be 87. Let's count the total number of bags. total bags would be 15 plus 26 plus 38 plus P plus 9, which will be using the calculator 15 plus 26 plus 38 plus 9. That will be 88 plus P. So even if P is 0, the bags would be greater than or equal to 8. So the bags cannot be less than 88, which is 87. Okay, now the question has told us that the mean question has provided us with the mean. How do we find the mean? Mean is the total number of values, sum of all data divided by total number of readings. So mean in this case will be 11 times 15 plus 12 times 26 plus 13 times 38 plus 14 times P plus 15 times 9, and the total bags are 88 plus P, and we already know the mean, which is 12.8. 88 plus P. We can make it simpler for ourselves and just take this 88 plus P and multiply it on the other side. What about the other side? Let's see, 11 times 15 plus 12 times 26 plus 13 times 38 plus 15 times 9. This is 1106 plus 14P. So 12.8 will multiply by 88, which is 1126.4, 1126.4 plus 12.8P is equals to 1106 plus 14P. 1126.4 minus 1106 equals to 14P minus 12.8. So minus 1106, that is 20.4. So 20.4 is equals to 1.2P. The value of P is 17. Moving on to the next part of the same question. Now the question is telling us that the probability that both bags contain 15 sweets is 4 over 539. Okay, so the first bag containing 15 sweets. Now the total bags are still, just replace the variable P with R because it's a different unknown variable, but the remaining data is almost the same, or is it? Let's change 12, 28, 39, R and 9. So total bags are 12, 28, 39, R and 9, which is 12, 28, 39, and 9, which is 88 plus R again. So how do I find the probability if bag contains 15 sweets? The first bag will be 9 over 88 plus R, and when I choose the second bag, it will be 8 over 88 plus R minus 1, and this answer is 4 over 539. So let's multiply 72 upon 88 plus R will multiply by 87 plus R, and that will be 4 over 539. Let's just cross multiply 72 times 539, that equals to 4 bracket 88 plus R into 87 plus R. You expand it, you'll get, I'll just divide 4, then 72 into 539 upon 4, and this will give me 88 times 87, 7656 plus 87R plus 88R plus 87R plus R squared. And on the left side, I'll get 72 into 539 over 4, which is 9702. 9702 is equals to 7656 plus 88 plus 87 is 175R plus R squared. 9702 is adding on the left side, it comes on the right side and it is subtracted. So this will be R squared plus 175 R minus 2046. Right, this way as well. It's exactly the same thing. Now the question wants us to solve this. Calculators are allowed. This is paper 2. You can just use the quadratic formula to solve for this equation. Okay, so R minus B, which is 175, plus minus under root of B square, which is 175 squared minus 175 squared minus 4. A is 1, C is minus 2046 upon 2, and A is 1. So the value of R is, let's see, 175 squared minus 4 to minus 2046, 38809. So I get it as minus 175 plus minus square root of 38809 over 2. So the two values of R will be minus 175 plus under root 38809 on 2, which is 11. And the second value of R will be the same thing with a negative, that is minus 186. Now remember, R is the number of bags. So the value of R will be 11 minus 186 will be discarded, and read the question carefully. The question says value of R. It does not say values, so you should end up with one single answer. Moving on to question 11. The diagram shows an open container on a horizontal surface. It is a prism trapezium. The top and the bottom surfaces are the same. Calculate angle DCB. DCB. This is the angle that I need to calculate. If this is 16, I can imagine another vertical line. I'll draw it just to make you understand. Another vertical line over here, not vertical line, another line on the top. This will be 16, this is 24, and the remaining side that I am left with is 4. So this is 16, this is 4. I'll just apply tan to get the remaining angle. I'll say that tan theta is opposite is 4 upon 16. That will give me my theta, which is tan inverse of 1 over 4. I've simplified 4 over 16, 14.0 degrees. So DCB will be 14 plus 90, which is 104 degrees. Moving on to part B. Okay. Khalil pours water into the empty container at a rate of 4,000 centimeter cube per minute for 2 minutes. He says that the container is now more than 2/3 full. Is he correct? Let's see. First, let's find out the volume of the container. How will we do that? In this one, we'll take its prism, area of the uniform cross section, which is the trapezium, and we'll multiply that the length between the two faces, which is 29 in this case. So area of trapezium is half into height, which is 16, into sum of parallel side, which is 28 plus 24. I'll multiply that by 29. So the volume of the entire solid is half is 0.5 into 16 into 28. Why have I written it as 18? 28 plus 24 and into 29. 12064. Now let's see the volume that he filled. Rate of anything is quantity upon time. So the rate is 4,000. Quantity, I don't know. I want to figure out the volume that he filled. The volume that he filled is 8,000 centimeter cube. Let's see what is the 2/3 of the total. 2/3 of total is 12064 into 2/3 8042. 2/3 is 8043. He has filled less than 2/3, so he's wrong. It's clear? So moving on, the last part, it says calculate the angle DFH. DFH, D, F, and H. Okay, first we need to find the considering triangle DFH. Let's find out FH first. FH is the diagonal of this trapezium. On top, you can imagine it as BD. I'm applying Pythagoras theorem to triangle ABD. So applying FH square is equal to 16 square plus 28 square. So the square of FH is 16 square plus 28 square, 1040. Now I need to figure out angle DFH. So I'll just apply I have FH with me now, and I could figure out this. I know DH is 29. I'll just apply tangent now. And theta opposite is 29 upon square root of 1040. So the value of theta, which is angle DFH, is tan inverse of 29 upon square root of 1040, 42.0. Make sure you are rounding it off properly. There is a 6 after the 9. So this will round off to 42.0. That's it for today. Thank you.